There's a way life works. If you rub your hand on, say, a 2x4, if you run it one way with the grain, it's smooth. But if you run it against the grain, you get splinters. And when you understand how life works, it's much easier. If you're 20 and you know the way life works, you won't get splinters.
Hey guys, I'm Garrett, the producer of the Trek Talks, and I'm here with George, who created these talks, and we want to talk to you about why this message matters. These Trek Talks are a rescue mission to help men reconnect with what on earth they're here for. George, let's begin with your favorite Thoreau quote.
Oh, sure. We haven't even talked about that on a podcast yet. I've really not read Thoreau, but this quote is awesome. In 1849, Henry David Thoreau observed in Civil Disobedience and Other Essays, quote, "The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation, a desperation that is resignation." What Thoreau is saying here is that he's observed men over their lives, this quiet desperation that leads to resignation is a movement, okay? And so there's this little bit of desperation, another year of a little desperation, and over time, they just quit life. They just give up, whatever it is.
So we're talking about why these talks matter. And George, I'm wondering, I know this is one of your favorite quotes from Thoreau, but have you observed this to be true?
Yes. And now that I'm telling you guys this, you're going to see this everywhere you go. So years ago, I was helping lead a tech company, high growth. I mean, we were going from like 80 million to we would end up at like 800 million. These guys are blowing and going. All right. And I was there all the time and I was around all the key guys and, you know, the whole company. And I loved it.
Yeah.
The energy, the vigor. These were not guys leading lives of quiet desperation. Not at that time.
Okay.
And nobody was resigning, but they were working their asses off. Okay. But on Sundays, I'd go to church. I knew where these guys at this tech company were not. They were not in church. And how do I know that? Because the men that were, and there was more women than men, and this was a church of like 1,000 people on a Sunday, okay?
Okay.
They were taken out.
Yeah.
And I begin to notice, so 20-year-olds, they don't get this quote, but the problem is they need to get it. You guys who are 20, you need to get this quote, and you've got to do things right now so you don't end up like the 30-year-olds. And there's a little bit of a, things aren't working out as well. The loans didn't go through. I'm having troubles in the marriage. Maybe I just tell her, okay, I give in. The boss is yelling at me. And it's kind of, a little desperation. 40s, it's more. By 50s, it's accelerating and you're hitting points of resignation. You know what? I'm just going to stay in this job till I retire. It's just easier that way. Yeah. And we die. And I have seen this in guys. So once I got a place to look at it, because you could see the generations in a church, you could see the older guys and you just watch their body language and you could see it. And I was like, I am not going to be like that. It is a fight not to just give in and give up and resign.
Wow. Yeah. George, as you're talking about the church experience, I'm thinking like, men are made in the image of God, right? Right. So in this powerful warrior image of strength who comes through and shows up, and I just don't think that the 5 easy steps to a meaningful and fulfilling life are really what gets us there, are really what gets men to who they really are, living fully, coming alive. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think you're wrong. Because when I watch those 5 easy steps, 3 things you can do, revolutionize your life, get that 6-pack ab, I get a dopamine hit.
Oh.
And for like about 60 seconds, I am coming alive, baby. I'm ready to go.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the dopamine wears off and I'm like, it'll never work. I'll never get those abs. I'll never get the girl. I'll never get the Ferrari. I'll never. And you know what? That stuff doesn't even matter. Well, maybe the 6-pack, but just kidding. but no, seriously, it's like there is no easy way. Okay? There's a way things work. There's a way life works. And when you understand how life works, it's much easier. Simple example, a mentor taught me years ago. And he goes, there's a way life works. And if you rub your hand on say, a 2x4, if you run it one way with the grain, it's smooth. But if you run it against the grain, you get splinters. So when you start to learn the way life works and you realize there's this constant decline, okay, as Thoreau puts it, is that you start with quiet desperation, and year after year, it gets worse and worse to where then you start resigning from stuff. And I don't mean your job. I mean, you just start checking out of life. It's just easier to give in. Right. It's just easier to, just give the kids some money. Just let them go. It does, I'm going to stop being the father. I'm just going to kind of make it easy. And look, they're almost graduated, Guys, you will hear yourself doing this. And if you're 20 and you know the way life works, you won't get splinters. So, Garrett, you're bringing up the image of God. You said we were made in the image of God. Okay. Yeah. But there's this decline. There's this gravitational pull down. All right. So if I want to stay in the image of God, I've got to get back up here.
Wow. Yeah. I think part of being in the image of God is having a strength to offer as a man. Hearing you talk about this decline, this kind of going passive, this like checking out, this resigning sounds like, well, it doesn't sound like strength. It doesn't sound like a man who is offering a strength. And a man who isn't offering a strength is going down that path that Thoreau is describing, right? To desperation, resignation. You're not alive. Not really living into the image that you were made in of God. And in the first talk, there's an incredible clip. Just, gosh, guys, you got to see it. But you talk about how we've been given authority over our lives. And when we feel victimized, when we feel like when we're not living into our own passions, our own dreams for our lives, then that's a sign that we're giving away authority. And it sounds like this giving away authority may be kind of tied to what Thoreau is describing here of this movement of just away from how we were made in this image of God in real strength.
Yeah, so let's kind of unpack what Garrett just said there. If you go to trektalks.org, scroll down, the very first clip is going to be a little snippet of that quote that Garrett's talking about. And it's the anti-Thoreau quote. So we're not critical of Thoreau. Thoreau's making an observation about men in 1849. And here's what's fascinating. In 2025, that quote is more true than ever before.
Yeah.
We haven't improved in all these years. Yeah. So yes, you've got to play into a man's strength. But here's the problem, Garrett, is what's my strength? In other words, who am I?
Yeah. And what on earth am I here for?
Right. And there's no better place to find out who you are than detention. So that's Principal Bentley from the movie Jumanji, which is in Trek Talk 2, and it's about adventure, what every man needs. And we set this up with Trek Talk 1, and the title is Choose Your Fate, Resignation or Rebirth. And so, Garrett, a minute ago, you were talking about like what it was, 3 simple things or 5 easy ways or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. All the popular titles and internet content that seem to promise an easy solve.
Right. Okay. We can't do it for you guys. I'm sorry. I would love to. I would love to be able to say, guys, if you would just do these 3 things, you won't resign from life when you're 70 years old or 50 or 40 or 30. Yeah. It just won't work. We can't cram it into a 10-minute video. So what we're doing is with the Trek Talks, and here's why they matter, is we're pushing against that. We're going to take you into who you are, and we're going to show you things about you didn't even know existed.
Right.
And there's some deep stuff, okay, that we get into. Each talk is really a talk, but there's a field manual you can get for free. Everything's always free. Okay. Yep. And then we have a React talk and then supplemental bonus content. As we get comments and stuff, we already know we're ready to go. We're going to get comments and people are going to go like, oh, I don't understand something. It was like, oh, we should have explained that better. So we'll have an expansion stuff going on these talks because there's so much. And we've got lots of these talks. And because I did a lot of them. And I've done them with real men. So what we're doing now is putting them into video, and they're super powerful.
Yeah. So guys, subscribe so you don't miss anything. We're always putting out new stuff, and watch this video next. I know you're going to love this, and we'll see you next time.